I don't know why I thought this movie would be out of my wheelhouse. Because after watching Tokyo Drifter, it's quite apparent that a 1960s accused movie like this is pretty much definitely in my wheelhouse. So yeah, why did I watch the Tokyo Drifter? I guess I felt like I'd watched some weird movies recently, and maybe some movies that just went over my head. And I thought I wanted to challenge myself. So I heard that this was a bit of a weird kind of movie, despite being some kind of gangsterish film. Instead, the movie Tokyo Drifter, directed by Seijun Suzuki and written by Yashinori Kawachi, is what you would call kind of a standard Western story. Yeah, this movie feels like a Western, which, awesome. I love Westerns. But it feels like a Western in a Yakuza setting, and it's got generally a pretty standard plot in this. So you've got this guy named Tetsu, who is the eponymous Tokyo Drifter, but not for about like 40 minutes into the movie or anything. That's when he becomes a drifter. Otherwise, he's just like Yakuza guy. But Tetsu and his boss, they want to go straight. And so they try to go straight, and no, there's underhanded dealings with other Yakuza factions and all that kind of stuff. And now, due to circumstances completely out of his control, Tetsu has to go into exile and be the Tokyo Drifter. But people still chase him and want him dead and all that kind of stuff. So that's generally the gist of this movie. It does feel very Western, especially in the kind of last half. If you like the two songs that feature in this movie, and I do, that's not going to be annoying at all. But you will hear them a few times. So if you can get it, if you don't mind that, that's good. It's also an hour and 20 minutes, so it never overstays its welcome. Though there were times I felt like the movie needed a little more meat on its bones, but everything you kind of need is in the movie. It's got some decent characters and things like that, and I can see why this movie would influence others. So yes, whilst it's got a standard kind of westerny slash crime yakuza kind of plot, what sets it apart is it's very 60s and colorful. So you've got them having their bases and stuff at all these 60s nightclubs and stuff. And they all look really weird and kind of pop art and colorful and excellent, which gives us, wow, the camera angles and everything in this movie are fantastic. So I think what holds my interest, even though the movie feels a bit standard, is just how it looks. Excellent close-ups, excellent use of color and camera angles, keep me kind of interested and engaged, and all that kind of stuff. Because there's one thing that kind of lets this movie down, at least for me, and it's all the gunplay. Uh, Old movies with their gunplay, old movies tend to be like, "Oh, you got me," and you don't really see a bullet hole and any of that kind of stuff. So when you get in where they're kind of showing you this kind of frenetic gunplay, which I guess would be the 60s equivalent of something John Wick esque. It's like boom, 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 but you don't see any bullets hit anything. There's no ricochets and stuff, and you don't see the bullets hit the bodies. So you never kind of like sure, like, did they just hit him with the bullets, or did they hit that guy with the bullets? Did anyone get hit with bullets? I don't know, which lets it down. And I feel like if this was made a few years later, they would probably be able to show things like the bullets being hit and things like that. It's kind of a nitpick, but when you've got an action Yakuza movie that features men of violence, you kind of want that violence to be, I don't know, decently represented. It's a fun movie, I guess. It doesn't romanticize the life of crime the way a lot of crime movies might, especially a lot of stylistic crime movies. So yes, I would call this a stylistic crime movie with Western influences. I mean, Western, it's not in terms of American influence. Well, American influences, of course, like the American Western, yes. So it's a good amalgamation, but I just wish the story was kind of stronger. Yeah, and maybe a bit more time. It's only an hour and 20 minutes. I think I'm complaining the movie's too short. Too long, too short. What the fuck do you want, Luke, from a movie? I guess I want something that combines interesting, beautiful, amazing camera work and visuals coupled with a great story. The story's fine. I guess if I had seen this in the 60s or before I had seen so many other movies that do things better, then maybe I would have been a little more wowed and impressed. I can see why this movie had an influence though. And I give it a 6 out of 10. Tokyo Drift is pretty decent. It's alright. And I think maybe the length has something to do with that. I don't know. But Tokyo Drift is fine. Oh, man. Yeah, just fine. I'll take fine over complete boring garbage any day, by the way. So, yeah.